All right, so this is group 15, and we are presenting usability testing. So usability is a quality attribute that assesses how easy user interfaces are to use. The word usability also refers to the methods for improving ease of use during the design process. So it's kind of used to define both the testing process and the qualities that it's testing. In a usability testing session, a researcher, which is also called a facilitator or a moderator, asks a participant or a user to perform tasks, usually using one or more specific user interfaces. While the participant completes each task, the researcher observes the participant's behavior and listens for feedback.
So the primary advantages of using usability testing is that it's completely focused around the customer. And so it's used to discern the customer's needs and concerns. It can meet the user's expectations, improve the user's experience, discover hidden issues, and ensure that the app's functionality matches the requirements. Um, if we continue, some of the disadvantages can be that selecting a target group can be tricky. For example, suppose you have an app or a product that is tailored towards like 2 to 5-year-olds. It's going to be really difficult to get usable feedback from that audience. It's also can be difficult to run. The QA team usually puts a lot of time and effort into testing and analyzing the test data. So these tests can run expensive and consume a lot of time. So an example that we have is the transaction process is the main bottleneck for online stores. And as a result, something we could do is we need to figure out some of the usability issues or the areas with low user activity and low conversation rates. We employ a quality assurance engineer to conduct usability testing and to help find the issues. From the test outcome, we can understand why users ignore some areas of a page or things that they may not understand as presented to them on the page. And simultaneously, we can devise appropriate solutions to these problems, which could be as simple as placing a button where a user can access it quickly.
So the usability testing is usually started during the first stage of the design phase during the development cycle. When done early like this, you can start troubleshooting any problems sooner, ultimately reducing the cost to resolve them. Usability plays a role in each stage of the design process, as there is usually a need for multiple studies. So it's not a study that's done once, it's usually continued during each implementation or change in the software or the interface, whatever is being tested. And so it should be done again and again throughout the design phase, as subtle usability problems always creep in during implementation. So some of the roles and their responsibilities, first of all, the four main key roles are the facilitator or moderator, the participants, the development team, and sometimes there's an observer or analyst. So the roles of the facilitator include creating tasks that are task-based scenarios, which are realistic descriptions framed around users' goals. So they want it to be something a user would realistically do with their product. They are also in charge of guiding the participant through the test process. They work to ensure the test results in high quality, valid data without accidentally influencing the participant's behavior. They want the data to be something they can actually use to make helpful decisions and changes to the object being tested, the product. The roles of the participant are to realistically, the participants should be realistic users of the product or service being studied. The participant might already be using the product in their actual life, or they may just have a similar background to the target user group. Either way, the participants need to be someone who will realistically use the product or service. The roles of the development team include making the prototypes to be tested, and then based on the results of the tests, they refine the design ideas and make those changes with each iteration. And finally, the observers or analysts are responsible for observing the user as they perform tasks and taking notes on those. They're also responsible for analyzing the data collected during these tests and making decisions for improvements, working hand in hand with the development team. For smaller studies, usually this role is filled by the moderator or other members of the development team.
Previous testing techniques are important. They must usability testing, focus groups, surveys, heuristic evaluations, and core sorting. Preliminary techniques include test planning, participant selections, and create test tags and scripts. According to NIRSING, usability test planning is essential to ensure that all important aspects of usability are covered under that complete understanding of the system in question is obtained. Regarding the selection of participants, it is recommended to select people who represent the end users of the system. Participants must be representative of the end users of the system to ensure that the conclusions obtained are relevant to these users. Continue, please. Post-testing techniques. It's important because they must impact analysis tools, retrospective, performance metrics, and user testing. On the other hand, post-testing techniques include data collection and analysis as well as presentation of results and recommendations. The data collection must be systematic and allow a detailed analysis of the difficulties of use incurred during the test. The results must be presented in a clear and concise manner and must include recommendations to improve usability of the system.
So in summary, usability testing is a testing method for measuring how easily and user-friendly a software application is. A small set of target end users use the software application to expose the usability defects. Usability testing mainly focuses on the user's ease of using the application, the flexibility of the application to handle controls, and the ability of the application to meet its objectives.
All right, so for a brief review of the things discussed, here are a few different questions. So during what phase of the development lifecycle does usability testing usually start? Plan phase, design phase, test phase, or maintain phase? And we'll cover the answers in the next slide. What are the key roles in a usability test? Select all that apply. The facilitators/moderators, participants, development team, translator, stakeholders. True or false, usability test planning is essential to ensure that all important aspects of usability are covered and that a complete understanding of the system in question is obtained. And the last question, true or false, the selection of participants is usually a quick, easy process because the researchers want a wide variety of participants and their background isn't important. Now for the answers for those, the first one, the answer was design phase. As we talked about, the usability testing generally starts early on during the design phase and continues throughout the design phase. The key roles in a usability test from this list were facilitators and moderators, participants, and the development team. As far as the first true or false question about the usability test planning, it was true, and the second one about the selection of participants being quick and easy was false. And lastly, here were our sources. So thank you for listening to our slide. Hopefully you learned something, and that's it. So thank you.